Hi, and welcome back to the class, R for Journalists. In this next section, we are going to go over how to import all types of data in R. And that's kind of the first big hurdle when you're dealing with data in R, is how to get it into R. Most people are used to double-clicking their data and having software like Excel open it for them. In R, it takes more thought and deliberation. While it's now possible to use import dataset as an option to bring in data, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it the proper way with having it scripted out as a command. So thanks to members of the community, there are many packages that lets R import all types of data, such as CSV files, Excel files, delimited text, JSON data, SPSS data, folders of files even, and copying and pasting data. So before we go on real quick, I want to show you an example of how I had to deal with a little bit of data importing in one of my projects. So there was a story that came out a little bit ago, how Trump is changing the face of legal immigration, and all this I put up on GitHub, by the way, the methodology. And if you download this, you'll get some kind of folder that looks like this. So this is my working environment. This is what I was dealing with as I was working with this data before I turned it into the story. So Abigail and I were working on this story for about a month, and as things turn out, the story changes sometimes because, well, when we first started out with this data, let me show you this this set of information real quick. Let me make sure I have the right data. So I'm going to run this app that I created internally for us to use, and I have also published this online. But what we were able to do with this data is I could map out and write out all kinds of charts and tables for us to kind of explore and see what was interesting. So the thing is, when we first started with this data, and this is all written in R, by the way, this little bit of explore, and like you could export the data, you could we had it narrowed down by region, you could select more than one kind of category of countries, and so this is really neat. The thing is, we only had, for the most recent data, we had November through April of 27 through 18. But of course, as time went on, as we were taking longer to report the story out, new data started rolling in. Because all this was posted by the State Department, and they had monthly data, and every once in a while, suddenly they would put up a new month. So we started out with November through April, but what if then we got a month of data, and I'll show you this is what they look like. And of course, they never really come in the format that you want, which is a spreadsheet format. It came out like this in a PDF. So while this is possible to scrape with a package in R, I just went ahead and used Tabula to do it. And that looked like this. All right. And what I did was I created one big data frame, one big spreadsheet of all that combined data. So you see I added a new column on the right to indicate what month and year it was, so that it would become a tidy data set. We'll be going to that later on, I promise. But this is a way to kind of break it out. And so after combining everything, I had about almost 13,000 rows of data. But then, like I said, new months started coming out. First, it was April of 2018, and I had to readjust my calculations. And then May and October then came out like a week later. But it didn't freak me out because I had a decent process, because I scripted it all out, right? So all I needed to do was get the new months of data, which look like these. make sure everything's organized. And so what I did was I translated them into spreadsheets. Sorry, I keep double clicking. And so then I would have there we go, like October. So then I would copy and paste that. All I would need to do is copy and paste this. Into the spreadsheet. And then add the month. And then it's kind of copy and paste that all the way down. And then I can drag that down. Sorry, this mouse is really big. Okay. So I did that. But of course, because I like version control, I just created a new spreadsheet, and I'm going to bring it over. And then instead of labeling it November to March, I labeled it with the months that I did have, October through May. So instead of all those rows of data here, which was 12, almost 13,000 rows. I then, with those extra 3 months, I got it up to, oops, I'm still in the wrong spreadsheet. There it is. With those extra 3 months of data, I got up to 20,000 rows. All right. So fortunately, I had that all scripted out, like I said. So I went to scripts, and there's a script called combining data that I created. And it did a lot of stuff in here. It created projections based on the months of data that we had. It relabeled things, it recategorized things, and we'll be going over this type of process later. It added some categories that we needed, that we specified earlier, and all I had to do was just select all, run it. So let's look at this app that's based on November through April. So percent change based on that data, and the projected data was about 46% drop based on this data. Take a look at the months. You can see it's only November through March. All right, so I ran the script, and I need to stop that running so I can run it again. I can't run those things at the same time. And within a few seconds, it spit out some new data that automatically saved to the folder where this Explorer was. And then I can open this up, and I want to change the label from November to April to the new set, which is October through May. Just replace that so it's updated and pretty, and I click run my app. And so now you see the menu at the top changed, and let's go to the percent type. Okay, so it's still 46%. Is that right? Did that save correctly? Yes, the data went there. So let's run it again. Maybe it's into cache, some cache issues. So, okay, so it didn't go through because November through March is still there. So what's going on? Oh, you know what it is? When I reran the script, I forgot to, I need to change the name of the file, right? Remember, I dragged in a new one? So remember, it's November through March. And all I have to do is the new data set, data frame, new Excel sheet is called October through May. And now I can rerun this data set. Okay, so let's run the app again. You see me troubleshooting in real time. And now let's take a look at percent change. And so it went from about 40-something% drop based on that data to 12%. So it's not as drastic, but it's more accurate. And we take a look at the monthly stuff. The chart's automatically updated with the new data because that's how I kind of set it up, because I didn't manually do anything. I just said make this chart based on what available variables there are. And because it added 3 more months of data, it was able to create 3 new types of data. So this is the benefit of working with R and scripted languages, because with a few quick changes in the text in the script, you can update everything and keep a lot of the structure of your analysis the same. It's just the underlying data is the thing that's different. So your process, your analysis process, is still preserved, but the output is different because the raw data is different. So some best practices when importing data into R: if you're importing spreadsheets, the first row is usually treated by R as the header, and try to avoid using spaces and symbols in header names, because R works with it operates a little bit differently when you're dealing with functions and you have spaces and columns. It's still possible to deal with it, but it'll make your life easier if you just go ahead and get into the practice of putting like an underscore or something, or like a dash between, maybe not a dash actually, like a period instead of a space. Before importing Excel spreadsheets, you can avoid headaches by deleting extra buffer rows or columns that people like to use to make them look pretty in Excel. It just muddies the waters a bit with R. So, are you ready to get to the next section? We're going to import data from CSVs. And don't forget that we can download the files and scripts for this particular section by copying and pasting into here. So you can do the use this code. Make sure you have use this installed in the first place. And now when you can copy and paste it, the files will go directly to your computer. Delete the zip file, and now we have everything we need for this next section on importing data. So just get this CSV file ready, and we are ready to go to the next section. So I'll see you there.